What is that? Is it an instrument?
A kazoo. You never seen a kazoo?
Oh, yeah. It's like
Yeah.
a recorder.
You don't have to take it if you don't want to.
No,
but
that's
there's
fine.
All
What am I
right, okay.
doing?
Let's try a little bit of the theme tune.
Which bit do I do?
The big
that
bit.
bit.
The big
I
bit.
blow into the big bit.
You hum into the big bit.
Wait,
Make
what?
a noise. Du-du-du-du.
Oh!
How about this?
Wait, what am I humming?
Did you do a bit of theme tune?
The Princess is fucking dead! Hey, it's Louis, and I just got back from Star Wars Rise of Skywalker, and I'm not going to spoil it. This terrible movie that you should never fucking see. I went and saw it with a friend and his brother, and after we watched the movie, we stood out in the cold, the three of us, and we talked about our employment situations, we talked about tech, we talked about hardware for computers, we talked about security and sort of, IT management in an office, and that was far more exciting than anything that I saw in that theater. Talking to my good friend's brother is the most interesting thing I did today outside of watching part of the Bills game, where they wound up losing in the end. But they played a decent game against the Patriots. I can think of many things to talk about that are more interesting than this dog shit movie. This pen and pad of Post-it notes on my desk. This is relatively interesting. This movie's not interesting. I was bored the entire way through it, from beginning to end, and it is a long movie. I forget who it was. It may have been Zach from your boy Zach Comics, whatever, Diversity Comics. He said that the movie has good pacing. Shut the fuck up, Zach. You old man, you fucking normie boomer. Shut the fuck up. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. This movie felt like I was getting a fucking cavity filled. And I said this after we concluded the film. I said to my friend that I had more pleasant experiences getting cavities filled than watching this movie. Because what I hate worse than bad movies are boring movies. And that is what this movie is in every way, shape, and form. It is worse than mediocre. Mediocre is one thing, and you could describe it as mediocre, although I think you're being generous in describing it as mediocre. It is a bad film. It is a film that has many plot contrivances that have no bearing at all. One example of many that I could cite you. There's a spy in the First Order. And once the spy is found out, the next scene the spy is killed. What purpose did it serve? Fucking none. So what was the point? Filling time in an already bloated movie. It is a movie that I fundamentally don't understand how anyone thought that this would be something worth seeing. I found myself, after I left the theater driving home, thinking about two scenes in the movie that, to me, felt like they were taken straight out of Indiana Jones. There was two scenes in the movie that felt like they were from Indiana Jones. By the time I got to my house, 15-minute drive from the theater, I had already forgotten one of the scenes. So I was going to tell you about these two scenes and then tell you what I thought about how they felt like Indiana Jones and how I think that JJ was just stealing from another fucking Lucas property or Spielberg property, actually. And I actually forgot what one of the scenes were by the time I got home, so I can't tell you about that. I can only tell you that I had that feeling because the movie's so forgettable that by the time I turned the key and came into my house, I forgot what I was going to tell you about, and I literally just left the theaters. This movie is beyond bad, and you will get a review from Red Letter Media. You're going to get a Mr. Plinkett review. You're going to get a Long Man Bad review. You're going to get a, Critical Drinker review. You're going to get so many reviews of this movie because it is unbelievably bad. And the best part of the movie, if you want me to just say a positive aspect to the movie, I don't remember the name of the actor, but the actor that played the Emperor, he was the best part of the movie. He's the only good part of the movie. Because it's like, hey, there's someone with an established character. Hey, there's someone that's taking the setting seriously. I hate self-referential jokes. I hate The Outer Worlds as a direct result of that. I hate dialogue that says that no one in the setting is taking any of this fucking seriously. I hate that kind of dialogue. And that is through and throughout this movie. I hate it. But I'll tell you who this franchise is geared for. This is not a franchise that is geared towards us millennial boomers. This is not dedicated to the even older fans, the fans that are in their 40s and 50s now. This is not dedicated to the old fans. This is not dedicated to the Gen X fans. This is not dedicated, Gen X and millennials that saw the prequels. This is not dedicated to the older fans. This is dedicated to fucking 7-year-olds. So your average grouping of 7-year-olds, that's who the audience is for these movies. And here's the problem. While we were in the theater, and it actually didn't bother me. Normally when people are making noise, you hear noises in the background, people making noises with their drinks and all kinds of ruffling of bags, that kind of shit, it bothers me to no end. People coughing, it bothers me. Normally, people were doing that. And one of the things that happened in the theater was that kids were running around, leaving the theater, coming in, coming out, they're running around. They weren't paying attention to the movie. It didn't bother me because I was so fucking bored that at least I then had something to focus on. I was like, hey, what are those kids up to? Are they going to get food? Are they going to the bathroom? Are they just bored? They're just running around? What's going on with them? Hey, what's going on, kids? What you up to? I'm not angry. I'm not upset. What you up to? What you doing? I'm interested. Hey, there's something interesting going on in the theater. Normally, that would bother me. If I was watching a film, if I was watching Joker and that kind of thing happened, it would seriously irritate me. And if it kept happening, I would yell at them. I'd say something. But in this situation, with these kids running around, and it happened several instances, these kids are just running around the theater, 7, 8 years old, just running around, didn't bother me in the slightest, because it's I understand, kids. This movie fucking sucks. This movie is fucking boring. This could be 1,000 movies from 1,000 different studios, from 1,000 different writers that all have the same joke pattern. Hey, isn't this a stupid universe we're in? Yeah, I don't take this setting seriously. Hello, character that I love you too. We have no conflict. Oh, aren't the bad guys so bad? Yeah, look at me shoot. Pew, pew. They fall down and die in one shot. We're gonna win. Oh, how interesting. How interesting. Oh, we got these big bad ships and they blow up planets. Oh, well, we're just going to destroy them. And when the good guys win. Who gives a shit? Who gives a shit about anything that is going on in this universe? Who cares? Because the characters on the screen don't fucking care. So why should I? Here is the problem. You see, I watch something, or I listen to something, or I play something, and I want the characters to take the setting seriously, as if they are characters or persons, people, within the setting. So if you're watching Saving Private Ryan, you want Tom Hanks to take his role seriously. That's the point. He isn't Tom Hanks. He's whatever the fucking character's name in the movie. That's who he is. And I'm going to help Kathleen Kennedy out. Here you go, Kathleen. Let's you and I join hands like Kylo and, or Ben Solo and Rey. And just in case you were wondering if Mary Sue is a Mary Sue in this movie, oh my god. Oh my god. If you thought the last 2 movies were bad, she is even more of a fucking Mary Sue in this movie. It is unreal to the depths that she becomes a Mary Sue. But whatever. Kathleen Kennedy, let's you and I sit down and join hands like Ben and Rey, okay? Let's join hands. And I'm going to help you out here, okay? So, you have an idea for what Star Wars is, and I have an idea for what Star Wars is. And while I'm not some millionaire Klingon loser incompetent diversity hire that's coasted along because she was a producer on Jurassic Park and a bunch of other Spielberg movies, and so they just put her in this role to fill a fucking slot. Exactly like Susan at YouTube, by the way. Despite all that, I can help you out. Because I might be a nobody, but I understand this franchise better than you do. And I know I do. Here is how you can make this franchise better. You ready? When someone says Star Wars, your Pavlovian response is diversity. It doesn't really mean anything to you, because when I notice every other stormtrooper is a female, and every other Imperial captain is black or non-white, when I notice, or a woman, when I notice diversity everywhere among the First Order, even more diversity in some ways outside of, aliens when it comes to the rebellion, but when I notice that everyone's diverse, when I say Star Wars, you hear diversity, because that's what I see. I don't see Star Wars, I see diversity. If you look at Star Wars in the past, you don't see a lot of diversity. What you see is Star Wars. See, that's the difference. I like Star Wars, you like diversity. So, here is how we can get to some kind of compromise. Because I want Star Wars, and you want diversity. So, I'm going to put diversity on screen. This is what you want. Now I'm going to fade that away. Okay, fade to black. Diversity's gone. Here's a word that I'm going to put in front of you that I think is more important. You ready? Fade in. You see this word? Kathleen, you paying attention? Kathleen, are you listening to me? You see this word on the screen? This is what Star Wars is about. And yes, there's romance and adventure and other aspects to the story. But this is what Star Wars is about. You might not like it. You might want it to be diversity, but we've already gotten rid of diversity. If we can't have Star Wars, and we're not going to have diversity, then let's have this. See the word on the screen? Let's have this be what Star Wars is. Because if we're not going to have what we once had, if we're just not going to have that anymore, then you need to make a decent movie. And I think the way that you make Star Wars a decent movie is to make it a war movie. You flirted with this with, I don't even remember the name of it. You tried it a little bit, but I noticed that that was a very diverse movie. You're focusing on the wrong word. Someone says Star Wars and you hear diversity, but that's the issue. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about Star Wars, not about diversity. So maybe focus on war instead. If we're not going to have romance, because, the SJWs on fucking Tumblr and Twitter are going to get upset by that. By the way, nice, utterly, at the end, utterly forced lesbian kiss involving one of the ugliest characters in the new franchise. By the way, I didn't notice that in the same way I didn't notice a pile driver smashing my fucking head into the concrete. You got that one by me. My point is in this, if you say, well, Louis, you already admitted this franchise, these movies aren't for you. You're not a 7-year-old that's running around the movie theater bored. The problem is that when I was 7 years old, I wouldn't have liked this movie either. Because even when I was 7, 8 years old, I knew what I liked then. And I liked action. And this is not an action movie. I like James Bond, and this is not a spy movie. This is not a thriller. I know that with Disney, they want everything to be as inauthentic and politically correct as possible. They want every product they produce to be as lame and as oatmeal as possible. I understand that. But I would like to see a decent movie for once in my fucking life. I did early in the year with Joker. And if Todd Phillips can do it, the fucking director of Hangover and Old School, if he can make a genuinely good movie, why can't Disney? Why can't you? And if your movie doesn't interest me now, or even when I would have been 8 years old. The question is, who the fuck are you making these movies for? I know what the issue is. I know what the issue is, as I've already alluded to in this. I say Star Wars. The people listening to this, they hear Star Wars. But you hear diversity. You don't hear Star Wars. I have no interest in seeing any more Star Wars movies. I have no interest in watching the Mandalorian TV show. I have no interest in playing that most recent EA game. I don't want to play any new games. I don't want to watch any more movies. I don't want to see any TV shows, whether they're online or in cable. I don't want any more. You have, for me, successfully killed this franchise. It's not that I hate Star Wars now, but it's just a matter of nothing you will create will be better than what already exists. Nothing. People can rant and rave about The Mandalorian or whatever else, that new EA game. I don't care. There's no way that those products are better than what already exists. There's no fucking way. The fact is that unlike in the situation with Todd Phillips and Joker, where they just let him go wild, every single piece of media that's coming out is micromanaged, it is overseen, and there is a checkbox. There is a checkbox for what you are allowed to have, what you're not allowed to have, and what you must have. On top of the list is diversity. Everything else is just below that. Is just, well, those are lower down the list. Things that resemble Star Wars, maybe some references and some self-referential jokes. That's further down the list from diversity. And that's not something that I value in Star Wars, because I like Star Wars, not diversity. Diversity is just some other thing. It's a foreign entity that has nothing to do with Star Wars. But the people that hold the levers of power that decide what Star Wars is, that's all they care about. That's the single issue. That's their one button issue when it comes to Star Wars. That's the only thing they care about. Everything else is secondary to that. And when I say nothing coming out is going to be better than what already exists, that's how I know it. It's because those are the people in charge. However, for the sake of being brief, I will leave it there. And as I said at the beginning of this, do not go see this movie. Do not waste your money. It is an awful, a god-awful movie. It is so long, and so unbelievably boring. Thanks for listening.